Welcome to Cord Cutting This Week, episode number 78, the show where I give you a quick look at some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting right now. If you want to learn more about these stories, in the show notes down below I'll put a link to each story. You can read about them for yourself and come up with your own opinions. I'd love to hear from you. If you're new here, hey, do me a big favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. It really does help us because it lets Google know you enjoy what we do here. And hopefully we can help you break free from the high cost of cable TV and still watch the shows you enjoy. Real quick before we get into the news, two quick points. First of all, I hope everybody has a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. Even if you have to work, I've been there, worked at gas station college, had to work all those kind of holidays, and so I fully understand. But I still hope you have a great weekend. If you don't stay to the end of this video, take care, be safe, and enjoy the beautiful weather, hopefully. We will not be here on Monday like we typically are. We will be back on Tuesday as we're going to take Monday off. Also, hey, if you watch these videos all the time, maybe consider checking out our Cord Cutters News app for Android, iOS, and Amazon Fire tablets. It's 100% free. There is a paid version if you want to remove all ads, but it does have a lot less ads than going to Cord Cutters News on your mobile device. You can check that out. But it brings you access to all of our stories. You can favorite them to find them later, offline reading, dark mode, light mode, adjust the text, all kinds of great features to access all the Cord Cutters news we cover. Because when we do these videos, it's just a fraction of the stories up here over at cordcuttersnews.com. Put a link to the video down in the show, or to the app down in the show notes of this video. All right, let's dive into the news of the day. First up, Starz is on sale right now. So the deal of the day is Starz for $5 a month for the first 3 months. I don't know how much longer this deal is going to last. Do not wait if you've been thinking about it. As I always say, be willing to jump around between services. Game of Thrones is over, maybe end HBO now, and take advantage of Starz for $5 a month for the first 3 months. Binge watch everything there, and then try out something different. So I'll put a link to it in the show notes. If you go to Starz's regular website, you may not see this deal. I have a link to it down in the show notes down below. And that helps out Cord Cutters News by letting them know you got it from Cord Cutters News. All right, first story up of the day. We've talked a lot about high-speed internet from space. Spacex is working on it, Amazon's announced it, and a few other companies. Now, you probably know there is internet from space, but it's what's called very high orbit internet, which means the signal has to go a lot farther, it's much slower, the latency is not that great. These companies like SpaceX are working on a low Earth orbit, so far, far lower, much closer to the ground network of small satellites. The benefit of being high orbit is you can have one satellite that blankets everything. Now these are going to be a network of over 4,400 some satellites very close to the Earth orbit that's going to cover the entire planet. Now yesterday SpaceX successfully launched 60 of these satellites to test out the network. The goal still is sometime later this year or early next year to go public, but they have successfully launched 60 of the 4,000 they plan to launch. This first step here will allow them to continue doing some early testing, see how the deployment worked, and go from there, with the goal of really ramping up the launches later this year once they get this first one all. Make sure everything went well, everything went in the right spot, the network's doing what it's supposed to do. From there, it's going to go very fast. Now, this comes just after a few weeks after the FCC announced they could even launch this network. It's very impressive to see SpaceX moving so fast to launch a high-speed internet. Now, you may say, hey, I'm happy with my DSL, I'm happy with my cable, that's great, but it's one more competition out there, and especially for Americans in rural places, this could really revolutionize home internet in rural America, bring competition. You add in fixed wireless, fiber, 5G, and now space internet, and suddenly we're getting real competition in the world of home internet. Now, they do say for the entire world to be covered, it will take about 5 years or so. I think it was 2024, 2027, somewhere in that range where they said it will go. It sounds like they intend to cover the United States and Northern America first and then build out from there. So we may be able, depending where you live, start taking advantage of it within the next year. Very good news. I hope they're successful, if nothing more, to bring another competition to the world of home internet. So check that out. All right, next story of the day. Now, I wanted to talk a lot about the push into cord cutting and the fact that the user interfaces are very different. Now, often we hear about, hey, I want a traditional grid guide. I want it to be exactly like cable. And we saw this with Sling TV. Sling TV launched with what they thought was a very revolutionary new user interface. Quickly said, that may not have been a good idea, and moved back to a grid guide, and they offer both now. You can pick. Well, Hulu is doing the same thing, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what the Hulu CEO said. He did it in an interview with Peter Kafka, and I apologize if I'm butchering that name. I have a last name a lot of people mispronounce, so my apologies, Peter, if I mispronounced that. But the CEO of Hulu gave him a great interview. Highly recommend you listen to it because he covered so many topics in great depth. One of them he talked about is that, the user interface was probably a mistake, and that the lack of a guide, more importantly, the lack of a traditional guide was a mistake, and the user interface was not intuitive. So I found that to be very interesting in his point, that I often talk about this. People have had cable for 30 years. They're used to a certain user interface, being a traditional grid guide, and they want that. Now, it doesn't mean a lot of these features that Hulu is doing is bad. For example, Hulu's dive into sports with March Madness and stuff, where you could follow teams and different features and have this really interesting sports grid here, is very useful. It's very helpful. It's very good quality. I hope they maintain that now that there's a new team developing for Hulu's app. But at the same time, people still want that familiar, comfortable, traditional grid guide. So my question to you is, which one are you use? Does having a grid guide affect your decision on which live TV streaming service you would be most likely to use or not? If a service doesn't have a grid guide, are you less likely to use it? Leave me a comment, let me know. Also, let me know if there's something about the current Hulu guide or user interface, we'll call it, that you want to make sure they maintain as they update it and change it. I'll put a link to this in the show notes down below. In that link, there'll be some images, the new Hulu grid guide and the new Hulu user interface I find very interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. All right, next story, last story of the day is kind of a two-parter, and it's our view on, is cord cutting really costing more than cable TV? Now, this has been an argument out there, and we've seen a lot of stories pushing this idea. Kim Komando wrote one this week, and it was published in the USA Today later after being on her website first. And I wrote a rebuttal today. Now, she's got some very valid points in it, but I wanted to rebut it because there's a few things in here I find that many people fall victim to when they're looking at this argument of, is cord cutting more? And that's many of the services people are talking about are services that offer content you can't get with cable. For example, she includes things like Disney Plus, NBA League Pass, CBS All Access, and more. A lot of that content you get there is not available on cable. Same with Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon, which she included. So I always argue this. Would really the basic cable package give you everything you want? Would you be willing to give up Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon to get that? The other part of it, we often hear things like HBO, Showtime, NBA League Pass, and more included in this argument. Well, that is content that you can't get with cable if you want, at least not in the basic package. If you want HBO, Showtime, Stars, etc., that's an add-on, a cost additional, just like it is with cord cutting, and often the pricing is exactly the same on both ends. So it's not like you're going to go to Comcast and find HBO for a cheaper price. I do know AT&T Wireless offers some deals there with UVerse, etc. You can get those deals if you're an AT&T Wireless customer without getting UVerse. So I would argue that a lot of this is not a cord cutting or a cable expense. NBA League Pass offers you out-of-market games you wouldn't get even if you had cable, because they're out-of-market games. These are games that do not air on your local cable network. There's actually rules that block them out where you live if your local cable provider is airing them in your area. So this idea that NBA League Pass is an expense that only cord cutters would have is just not true. And I could go on and on about this, but that's the general idea. Disney Plus was included. Well, most of the content in Disney Plus, all the original content, most of the back catalog you're going to find is not airing on cable TV. You can't include that. If you go back to cable, would you give up The Handmaid's Tale, Stranger Things, Last Chance U, all these hits, award-winning shows that you cannot watch with cable? And that's where my big argument with is it. Now, there is a legitimate argument here that you need to do your math. You need to say, hey, for one, if I go back to cable, would I really give up all these services? Two, do I really need all these services? Kim Komando listed over $200 worth of services. Could you really watch enough of each of these services to take advantage of the $200 streaming bill. When you look at Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, NBA League Pass, YouTube Premium, again, YouTube Premium, there are some original shows, but most people get YouTube Premium to watch YouTube content commercial ad-free. Again, not something you're going, it's not like your cable company is giving you YouTube content ad-free or YouTube originals. Again, all that. Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, all this content listed in stories like this one, which offers content you won't watch with cable. Would you give that all up? We have seen studies that show over half of cable subscribers also pay for at least one or more streaming services. So it seems like the answer is no. But how many services do cord cutters really pay for? Well, we asked you, our readers, and over 1,000 of you chimed in. And according to that breakdown, 95% of you subscribe to 4 or fewer streaming services. From there, we took a look at the 3 or less. 70-some% of you subscribe to 3 services or less. So this idea that people are subscribing to 8, 9, 10 services to drive the bill up to $200, or even 6, 7, 8 and higher, I should say, it's just not true. There's just no realistic view on this that the vast majority of cord cutters are doing this. Could you find somebody who absolutely loves TV and is willing to pay a premium price for it and get all the premium stuff? Yeah, there's always one person you could find to build a straw man kind of argument around. But the vast majority of Americans have found apparently that 4 or less, and even many 3 or less streaming services is all they need. And let's be honest, most of the content you will want to watch as a cord cutter now is not available with basic cable anymore. You would have to get a very high package to get that. So my question to you is, how much money are you saving with cord cutting? How many services are you using? What do you think? Do you think Kim Commando is right? Do you think I am wrong? I'd love to hear from you. But I really do stand by the idea that the vast majority of Americans, if they went back to cable, would not be willing to give up all their streaming services. And that the basic cable package a lot of people list as the example why cord cutting costs more doesn't even offer all the things that people want anymore. People's taste has changed. Some of the best shows on TV, you just can't watch it with cable. You need a streaming service to watch it now. And I still argue, even with the average cable subscriber paying $107 a month just for TV, most cord cutters can get all that cheaper with a streaming service and with things like Netflix or Hulu added on. So that's my opinion. And as far as internet, you know, the average cost of standalone internet versus a bundle deal is only $10 more a month. So to save $10 a month, you're going to pay $107 for cable and then have to add streaming services on top of it. Just doesn't hold water to me. So I'd love to know what you think. If you think I am wrong about this, I'd love to hear from you. Just give me some more facts, though. Give me an explanation of why a basic cable package gives you everything you want for less. I'd love to hear from you. But when we run the numbers, the vast majority of cord cutters save money and get everything they want and more. Again, though, you could always find one person. It's called the straw man argument, right? If you can find just one example, you can try to paint it as all cord cutters are that way. And that goes back. Do your math. Do what's right for you. If you did your math and you think that's a better deal, you know what? Go ahead. I may disagree, but that's great. That's the great thing about a free market. With competition in a free market, you have options. You pick the right one for you. Versus a lot of the monopolies we've been seeing where there's just 1 or 2 TV providers in many areas where you pick 3 or 4 packages, and if it doesn't offer what you want, tough luck. That's all there is. With cord cutting, it's really the free market at work. There's 4 or 5 services. The best will rise to the top, the worst will fall below. There's actually 8 or 9, 10 or more sometimes. So I'd love to hear from you. Well, that's it for today. I hope you all have a great Memorial Day weekend. I'd love to hear your opinions on all these stories, so leave us a comment. I really want to hear from you. But also, be safe. Check out our app down below. If you watch our videos all the time, hit the notification bell so you can be notified when we post new videos. The weekly podcast went live yesterday. It was delayed a day due to internet problems. So if you're watching this video this weekend, the podcast is already live on YouTube and available for download on many popular podcasting apps. So take care, everybody. Ring the notification bell. Download the app. I'll see you on Tuesday for our Cord Cutting Today recap.